Well, here we go. Almost the weekend. We're almost there. What are you going to do on your weekend? Is and you're probably wondering about this. I'll explain. Welcome to the Superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today I'm going to be talking about F you in my basement. Well, actually, you know what that is. This is nothing nasty. It's basically uh, if you're a pilot, you would look at this and you would know that that means light smoke. So that's in the pilot world. There's all these little abbreviations that we use for our weather, and you have to know them for your written tests and flying along and checking weather and stuff like that. So yeah, it actually comes from the French fume, fume. So because well, anyways, that's that, and there's a long history to all that weather stuff. But I was looking around. I was expecting, like, I mean, the last show I did here on Wednesday, it was still the Tuesday before. It was like really smoky here in Windsor, Ontario, where I am, and then it got pretty good on Wednesday, and it's like, not too bad now. Everything's back to normal, I think. And then it was going all over social media and in the news. Oh, New York is all polluted. Really? Surprise, surprise. Yeah, and then yeah, good point there, Wrench. And hey, Dan. Yeah, so basically, I'm looking around on the official pilot reports. I checked Toronto, Montreal. Didn't check New York. Around here, it's nice. And then I thought I would check even out in Goose Bay, Labrador, because I thought maybe the wind shifted and maybe it's going out to Goose Bay, Labrador. Nothing, no smoke there. I would have read on the weather reports some sort of FU, but no, it just seems like it's not even worth reporting. So it's kind of done. So, all right, I was going to talk about smoke. So much for that. But I did have a backup topic too. And yeah, actually, Wrench here brings up a point there that a lot of people in the news were they were saying, especially in the conspiracy theory world, which is, I mean, I love a good conspiracy. I mean, who doesn't like that? So yeah, there's some TikTok videos going around or something that was it kind of showed that all the fires were starting at exactly the same time. And I was almost thinking about getting out a roll of tinfoil and replacing my little flat cap here with like my good tinfoil conspiracy cap. But and I was thinking, what would cause that? So I didn't do that much research into it. They say the official word is that it was in Quebec. It was started by lightning. I mean, lightning does start forest fires all the time, and so yeah, maybe not. So I was kind of thinking about that a bit more, and like I didn't get into like, okay, at there is a way of looking to say, like, okay, were there thunderstorms in that area at that time? And I only do my own research for some stuff. I'm pretty light on the research here on the Super Pilotish channel. But yeah, as far as them starting all at the same time, and then the video I saw, it was kind of like, oh, here's one, and then here's three starting at the same time, then here's another five. And the only thing I could think about that is that I like, with the very little bit of research that I did, was that I know if you go on NASA has public satellite imagery, and it updates every 10 minutes. So what I was thinking, maybe it was like, okay, here's a fire, boom, and then 10 minutes later the storm's moving a bit more, the atmospheric conditions are changing. Okay, now here's another two fires. And then, so if it looks like fire, 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 that might be over like a whole, I don't know, like a whole hour or more. If you have like six different photos and then you make it time lapsed, and it looks, like it's happening pretty quickly. But I have a feeling it's just no conspiracy. I'd like to hope so, anyways. Um, and yeah, Wrench. We had this, I don't know, we have an interesting group that comes into the Super Pilotish channel all the time here, and Wrench is irritated that the people are claiming like global warming for all this stuff. Okay, see now, I'm trying to think where global warming fits into my rules here. So I don't talk about politics, I don't talk about religion or skin pigmentation or genitalia. So I don't know where climate change would fit in there. That's sort of scientific. And oh, hey, Shecky. Yeah, but I will be getting scientific later on you. But yeah, as far as like the global warming, it's like, eh, okay, whatever. They have models and stuff, and I'll give you an example of science. I'll give you an awesome example of science here in just a minute. So, because I was thinking, okay, if all the smoke's gone and it's like it really, I just can't even. I was out there this morning. Maybe I could smell a little bit of it. I don't know. The guys were out putting on a roof on the other street over there, blasting their tunes and having a good old time roofing yesterday. So, like, I mean, they weren't dying or anything. So I guess they're okay. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty much done. There we go. Next week we'll get some rain. My tomatoes will grow. Everything's cool. Okay, so now here we go. Let's get into some real hardcore science because I was thinking, okay, with all this stuff gone, now it's nice and safe to go for a walk or something like that. So I remember a few years ago, I was there with my girlfriend. We were kind of hanging out, just listening to the CBC radio news. And there was a big, and I forget exactly when it was. It was quite a few years ago. And there was a groundbreaking study that was just released that they had scientifically proven that walking is good for you. Yeah, just a few years ago. Before that, it's not scientifically proven. Ooh, can't prescribe anything, but you can't tell your patients to go for a walk. Ooh, it's not scientifically proven, right? So yeah, so it was like I did a little research to see like yeah, I'm serious, and I put a link in the description below to the study I'm talking about. It came out in 2015, but okay, it was a study of studies. And so, like, I mean, at the time we were listening to that, I was like laughing. I still remembered it till this day because it was just so unusual. It's like, wait, you mean it took till 2015 for people to prove that like walking's good for you? Like, didn't everybody know that? Oh, but now it's scientific. So there we go. And so I printed out this article and it's like 7 pages. And I was just looking at like this scientific. And the thing is, if you ever do your own research for anything, you're just looking at all this, got this gobbledygook, and it's got like, oh, okay, we got, oh, this is the number of people that were in the study, and this is our analysis methods, and and we've got and I'm gonna pick this little probably, or what do they call that, the p number for your reliability. Ooh, here's my reliability. I made a bunch of numbers, so this is reliable. See my numbers, they all match up. I made them up myself. So anyways, it was like 7 pages of this stuff, and it was in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. And I just for kicks, I put the link to the study below. So here we go. And I'm just thinking about, there's a study that was done. So this is a meta study. So it's a study of other studies. So people have apparently been doing studies on walking and finding out miraculously that walking is good for you for quite a few years. And like, that kind of blew my mind that you could do a meta study of like walking is good for you. Like who does it? Like, can you imagine that you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, okay, going to be doing my PhD here pretty soon in health sciences. And okay, I got to come up with a thesis or publish or perish. I got to keep my job here. I just walked to class. I'm kind of out of breath. Hey, I'll do a study on walking. Yeah, okay. Now let's get some funding. Hey, government. Hey, corporation. Hey, Nike. Hey, whoever. I'm gonna try to get some funding for my study here about walking. and I won't be biased at all because it's like, I don't know, walking could be bad for you, could be good for you. You don't know. I'll let the science do the talking there. So, oh, hey, Corey. Um, So, so like you're spending all this time applying for grants and doing stuff, and you're crunching all the numbers to make it all look all good and put try to get 7 pages of writing to say, yeah, it's good. So, anyways, they did that and did that, and then so a guy like me comes by and says, okay, yeah, whatever, whatever. Oh, adults over the age of 19, okay, yeah. And then I get through here. They got some other table. I don't know what the heck that's all about. Don't care. Meta-analysis. Oh, discussion. Oh, principal findings. Here we go. Strengths and limitations of this. Oh, okay. Results in context of other published reviews. Ooh, we're getting there. Is walking good for me yet? Ah, I highlighted it. Here we go. At the end, 7 pages for this. Drum roll, please. So let's find out what they said. How in 2015 in the what was it, the British Journal of Sports Medicine, study done by Sarah Hansen and Andy Jones. Okay, what are the new findings? Well, here's some new findings for you. Here we go. According to the science, the heavily researched and published, these are really legitimate sources here. According to the findings, this had to do with walking groups too, not just walking. Okay, now we're gonna put a little twist on it. We're gonna have walking groups. How is that different than walking by yourself? I don't know, faster, slower. But I'm sure they accounted for that. So here we go. Outdoor walking groups have, okay, these are the findings. These are new. Okay, outdoor walking groups have wide-ranging health benefits, including, you probably never knew this, reducing blood pressure, body fat, total cholesterol, and risk of depression. Whoa, we didn't know that till 2015. That's amazing. Okay, here's another finding. Outdoor walking groups they just kind of appear to be an acceptable intervention to participants with high level of adherence and virtually no adverse effects. Wait, but it only appears that there's no adverse effect. Okay. And now here we go. This is where they got one sentence here. This other little part I highlighted, and that's how might it impact on clinical practice in the near future? Ooh, this is how important this walking study is, and like this is going to be like it might impact. It definitely, it's not definitely going to impact, but it might impact. Okay, so it provides clinicians with evidence of a further effective option to recommend to those patients who would benefit from increasing moderate physical activity. Wow. So all that funding and work and everything, it got to the point. So you could take this as a doctor and go, see, it's science. Go for a walk, fatso. I don't know. It's just like I look. I've been looking for that or just thinking about that for years, and I finally actually looked it up because I do plan on going for a pretty good walk tomorrow. I usually try to get out there every day, and so unless it's too, I don't know, rainy or too cold or something. But I mean, according to the science, it may help out my my health or something like that. So there we go. Look at that. Hardcore. Oh, and then there we go. And then we got a whole page here too of references on the back. Look at all those references. 63 references. Like like that's your job, to go through and look through all this stuff and whip up little statistics and things, and just to say like, yeah, here's another reason that walking's good for you. Like these other like all the studies that I was looking at for this study, yeah, they all said the same thing, and my conclusion's the same as them. Yeah, all right, look, I'm keeping this tenure, no problem. Okay, so so go out and have a walk there, everybody. The smoke's all done. We're gonna forget about by Monday. I bet you won't even hear about all this forest fire stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure they're still going on up there, but at least it's not, it's not as bad as it was. or it's not hitting the population centers as much as it was. There's still a lot of people evacuated up in Quebec and stuff like that. But hey, it's summer. That happens all the time here in Canada. There's just always forest fires. This one happened to be a bit earlier, and a little bit earlier and a little more intense, and it actually made it into major populations. Like, I mean, there's forest fires every year in Canada. It's just all the time. So and you can count on it for the news. So anyways, they got to report something in the news, right? They're just like the British Journal of Sports Medicine, just looking for something to publish. So anyways, cool. I'm going to go through and take a little look at the comments here. Comments, questions, etc., etc. So there we go. What do we got here? Okay. Dan Duval and Dan's talking about my caged tomatoes. Yeah, I put cages on my tomatoes yesterday, and now I put in some sticks, and then I'm gonna tie. I usually tie. Here we go. Here's a gardening tip for you. You know how you always get tomato cages, right? You buy your cheapo Canadian tomato cages. They're usually green. So you got your. Here we go. All right, look at this. This is an official tomato cage. Ta-da! Looks like that. And then you put these. Now, some people, they like to put it upside down like that, so it's a little bit more stable on the ground. And then your tomato grows up in there, and you keep it. You kind of train it to keep in. I've tried that before. Not the greatest. And then you over here, you stick these little guys into the ground. You'll probably have 3 of them. And then you put that in the ground, and then, but eventually the tomatoes get too tall and they flop over. So the way I like to rig up mine, here we go, is a little gardening tip for you. Dan the gardener, maybe not. Look at that. I'm getting pretty good at these little drawings now. Well, maybe not. Maybe not the greatest. Okay, so now I got my 2 tomato cages. And then what I do is I put a stick in between them. I just got off my neighbor there. He cut down some branches on his tree, so I just kind of pounded them into the ground. And all right, so here we go. I got my stick. That's my official stick. And then what I do is I'll tie the tomato cages here. I'll get some twine. I might even do that fancy knot one of these days. And then once your tomatoes start getting even bigger than the cages, I'll put on my fancy knots that I learned, and you can kind of tie off anything else that's growing up there. That's the plan. That's what I usually do. And then that stick in the ground keeps it from flopping over. Just something to think about if you're growing tomatoes. Okay, so I can talk about gardening as much as I can talk about jargony kind of flying, so that's cool. Right. Okay. Okay. What do we got here? So looks like Corey goes for a walk. That's good. And what do we got here? Okay, and then Corey's thinking here too. He's an official walker. Group walking also makes it more cardio heavy. Talking ups the difficulty. Yeah, I guess that's something too. If you're walking along and you're in a group, you're talking, and it's it would be more difficult to talk than not talk. But that's another thing too. If you've ever gotten into walking or jogging or any type of exercise there, they say that because I got into jogging like when I went to Sioux College, I was like a little bit older than the rest of the students, so I was looking fat or like I had a good beer gut when I went there. And I'm seeing all these like 18, 19-year-old guys, and they're all like skinny as a rail. And here's my 32-year-old beer gut from working in a machine shop. So it's like, okay, I got to lose some weight to fit in with these kids here. And so I got into jogging just a little bit. And then, so apparently what they say is for jogging, same with walking, is that if you get to the point where you can't have a conversation, like you want to get up to the point where you can still talk, and then at that point your heart rate is up at a point where you're burning fat in the aerobic zone of burning fat kind of stuff. And then once you get to the point where you're like and you can't talk at all, at that point you're not burning fat anymore, you're anaerobic and you're burning muscle, and it's being counterproductive to what you want to do. That's my little minimal jogging knowledge. And then, yeah, I actually lost quite a bit of weight that way, and then kind of stayed off and then came back. And then right now, walking for me keeps my weight pretty much stabilized. Okay. All right. And what do we got here? Okay. Oh, Jim's here too. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, Jim. And yeah. So that's about it. Not really any big questions here today. Wrench, can you connect gardening and flying? Okay, you're making me use my flight instructor brain here a bit. And then Shecky says crop dusting. Okay, yep, that is one way. That's kind of more like farming and flying if you're crop dusting. That looked like when I was younger, a little bit younger. It was like that looked like the funnest flying in the world. And I've heard from some people that like I'm thinking to myself all the time, how do you know like you're in those little planes buzzing so low to the ground? How do you got to really gauge your altitude just right? And so one of my buddies I went to school with, he learned how to fly uh, at this place that did a lot of crop dusting. And one of the old crop dusters said, "Oh yeah, you just get down there, and once you feel the corn or the beans hitting the wheels of the plane, then that's that's when you know you're low enough." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I don't want to be doing that. I've done a few forced approaches, simulated engine failure forced approaches with students that were a little bit lower than I would want, because sometimes I said, okay, we're going to get a little lower to the field here, and then say, okay, get full power, and the students like and we're still descending. So it can get, I mean, I think it was only one time that I really scared myself. After that, I kind of kept things, I gave myself a little wider margin of altitude. But yeah, so what do we got here? Oh, okay. Yeah, so gardening and flying. All right, I'll take Shecky's advice on that. We'll call that crop dusting. And or you could do even like learning how to fly is a lot like learning how to garden. You're going to make a bunch of mistakes, and you'll never quite be the best gardener. You'll never be the best pilot. You could do that for anything. Yeah, and then so Jim likes his cycling there. It's better for his old knees. Yeah, and I mean that's one thing about walking that you know what? Maybe we should do a meta study. Well, I'll get a grant for some meta studying to say that yeah, the cycling is good. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I'll get a master's. Yeah. I don't think so. But yeah, another thing there too is depending on how your bicycle is, if you have bad wrists. I've had that before where um yeah, because I've broken I've broken both of my wrists at one point or another. And then yeah, this one time and then I also was working on this machine once that had a big heavy door that I was opening and closing all the time, and it kind of aggravated my one wrist there. And then when I tried to ride my bicycle, it was like a little bit more weight on it, and it wasn't that great. It was a little. I'm thinking, oh, do I got carpal tunnel? And then same thing happened with when I got my motorcycle here. It was a little bit more forward than I wanted, but yeah, the old wrists are pretty good now. Good enough to hammer that throttle, man. So okay. Uh, and Jim's asking, hey Graham, do you accept generic mac and cheese boxes for the craft flyer? Uh, well, it's like I am a bit of a Canadian craft dinner purist. One day I hope to be a sponsor. Have them sponsor the superpilotish channels. That way I'll get free craft dinner. But anyways, the my little the KD12X can be made by basically any corrugated cardboard. And if you had a case of the generic mac and cheese, that would work just fine, Jim, if you want to go for it. Okay. And okay, what else we got here? Cool. All right, you guys, I'm going to pack it in here. You guys have, and there we go. Vanessa Kitty just popped in right at the very end, and she says that it's pretty smoggy down her way, and it seems to be easing up. Yeah, so I think it'll be a good weekend for everybody, and I hope you do have a good weekend, and I'll just kind of shut her down here, guys. So, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and stay healthy, go for a walk, breathe in some fresh air, and thank you for watching. Bye.